Hello, friends. Welcome to the Spoken Word, this poetry with a purpose. We're here in 1 Corinthians today. Let's jump in and get this party started. For since in the wisdom of God, the world through its wisdom did not know him, God was pleased through the foolishness of what was preached to save those who believe. 1 Corinthians 1:21. This is called foolishness. Him unknown in all their wisdom and untouched by his grace, in the foolishness of their position, they'd never see the Father's face. For what was preached was an anathema, for it didn't come now from their minds, and so in the darkness of their hearts they're so reprobate and blind. For the heart is the only container for the truth now of God, the only treasure map to the Father, showing where your feet should trod, showing clearly now the exit to all the darkness now of sin, and Christ the only avenue as the way to be born again. And so, children who believe all the foolish ways of Paul, you've received now wisdom's sight, for it's only Jesus Christ that you saw. Oof, this was good today. I like this one. This is foolishness. 1 Corinthians 1:21. So, we're going to break it down here. I'll read the verse one more time. For since in the wisdom of God, the world through its wisdom, see how God's wisdom and the world's wisdom are separated? For since in the wisdom of God, the world in its wisdom did not know him. You can't have God. It's not about having God's wisdom and the world's wisdom. You either get the world's wisdom or God's wisdom. God was pleased through the foolishness of what was preached to save those who believe. To the world, what we believe is foolishness. So it's foolish to believe this Jesus guy. Come on, this is foolishness. This is nonsense. That's what the world believes. Okay, so let's just foolishness again, the title. Him unknown in all their wisdom, they did not know the Father. Their wisdom did not lead them to God. And untouched now by his grace. If you don't have the Father, you don't get his power, his grace. In the foolishness of their positions, they'd never see the Father's face. Then their position, they looked at themselves in their position as wise. We're the Pharisees. We're the well-dressed. We're the ones in the temple. We're the wise. But that did not lead them to the Father's face. Never. And all those who are of his get to see his face someday. For what was preached was an anathema. What Jesus said to these religious leaders was an anathema. It was vile to them because he was telling them, you can't trust in your own works. You can't trust in your own leading. You've got to listen to my Father. You've got to listen to me. We just did John chapter 5 dealing with all of this. It's exactly right. But for them, it was an anathema. What Jesus said was ridiculous. You claim to be the Son of God? Come on. Well, who do you think you are? They told him. For what was preached was anathema, for it didn't come now from their minds to them, their studying of the scripture and having all this memorization of the Old Testament Torah. In John chapter 5, you diligently seek the scriptures which testify of me, but you won't come to me for life. They had all of this mental, acumen in their head. They had all of this, they did all the mental jumping jacks, 5 to 10 hours a day in the Torah, memorizing I heard that most of these guys could memorize. They had the whole book of Proverbs and stuff like that memorized. They had all of this knowledge and wisdom in their head. But again, watch the rest of this. For it didn't come now from their minds, and so in the darkness of their hearts, for what was preached was an anathema, for it did not come from their minds, and so in the darkness of their hearts they're so reprobate and blind. It never went from here to here. We talked yesterday, the kingdom comes through the mind. You learn stuff, you put it in your heart, the good or the bad, and then that good or bad comes out of your mouth. They never went from all of that knowledge they learned, everything that they learned never went from mind to heart. They never made the connection between the two. You receive with your mind as you study, but then you put the truth of it, what God's leading you, where he's leading you in your heart. They never got that. For the heart, I like this next one. For the heart is the only container. I love that one. I got that in my mind today. For the heart is the only container for the truth now of God, not the mind, but the heart. The only treasure map to the Father. I love that line too. Your heart is your treasure map to Father. Your Father, as you're learning of Christ and learn, it's that treasure map is in your heart that's leading you towards the Father. The only treasure map to showing where your feet should trod. Where do your feet trod? They trod, or they follow the same path of Jesus. They follow on the path of Jesus. He's the path you're following to the Father. I'm the way, truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. Jesus is the treasure map. He is the path to Christ, to the Father. Absolutely. For the heart now is the only container for the truth now of God, the only treasure map to the Father, showing where your feet should trod, showing clearly now the exit. I love this. Showing clearly now the exit to all the darkness now of sin. He shows us the exit. Jesus is the exit to sin. And Christ the only avenue. Again, he's the exit and the avenue as the way to be born again, to be completely made new. And so children who believe in all the foolish ways of Paul, I love that line, the foolish ways of Paul, because to the world, it's foolishness that we believe in Jesus. It's foolishness we believe in his Father. And so children who believe, you have to believe to follow these foolish ways of God. I love this. In all the foolish ways of Paul, you've received now wisdom's sight, for it's only Jesus Christ you saw. So in believing the foolishness, what did the poem say? I mean, what did the things say? God was pleased through the foolishness of what was preached to save those who believed. The world saw all of it as foolishness. See, for since in the wisdom of God, the world in its wisdom, not God's wisdom, but its wisdom, and they saw it as foolishness. And God says, okay, that stuff you think is foolish, he's saying to all these so-called wise people, you think that's foolish? It's that foolish stuff that's going to save people. It's that foolish belief in Jesus Christ and him alone that's going to save people. It's our foolish belief in Jesus and in the Scripture. Sola Scriptura, the Bible alone, the Scriptures alone, sola Jesus, Jesus alone. That foolishness is what saves us. So children who believe in all the foolish ways of Paul, you've received now, it goes from foolish ways of Paul to wisdom sight. You believe in the foolish ways of Paul, the foolish ways, what the world judges as foolish ways, that's wisdom sight right there. For it's only Jesus Christ you saw. It's only Jesus Christ we see. He is why we're born again. He is why we're made new. All of God's foolishness in the world's sight leads us to one thing: the way, the truth, and the life, Jesus Christ. And he is the answer for it all. And all of that foolishness, what was preached, it leads us to the Son of God. And without him, you never see the Father's face. You never receive anything. And you're stuck in your own mind's wisdom, which is foolishness in God's sight. So I love this. Was really good tonight. So love you. Can't get enough of you. I hope you enjoyed that today. We just shutting off my tablet here. So don't need to leave it on all night. And but we appreciate you. We love you. And hope you enjoyed the poem, Foolishness. 1 Corinthians 1:21. Turn on over and read that chapter. That's some good stuff. Anyway, we love you. Can't get enough of you. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a blessed day.